Hey everyone, welcome to Sketch a Day Live. This is Sunday, May 3, and we are ready to sketch. It's been a busy morning for me, myself. Played Minecraft with the kids, hung out, but now we're here to hang out with you guys. So if you're watching on Instagram, this stream will continue for about 15 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna have to peel off and we're gonna move on to the main show. If this is your first time, head on over to sketchaday.live, and that way you'll be able to participate in the conversation, make suggestions. Today I'm going to be re-sketching some submissions from you guys. I posted on my Insta stories, so apologies if you've missed that, but we've had some good submissions from the Discord, and I'll be sketching. Having a safe, comfortable, happy weekend. I was able to get outside, which was nice, get some fresh air, go for a run, all that good stuff. Minecraft with the kids, like we do. So I'm just warming up with some straight lines here on some cheap copy paper. And the key here is to just draw with your shoulder and your elbow. That's what I'm kind of working on here, trying to get those muscles nice and warm. And quite literally, you do want those muscles in your shoulder to feel warm. So if it helps you sketch a little bit faster, prioritize the speed to get your muscles warm, your shoulder, your elbow, so you're comfortable, and then focus on the precision. So right now for me, speed more than precision. I guess a little bit of precision, as I'm repeating this exercise between the lines to see how close I can get. As always, check in with the chat. Oh, I forgot to switch the overhead. My bad. There we go. If you're watching on YouTube, you're wondering what I'm doing. So we'll do that one more time. Straight lines, just like so. And let's see if this works. Yeah, I got this new Stream Deck. Oh, sweet. That totally worked. I got this new Stream Deck, which is basically a little controller. I'll show you in the overhead. And it has OLED keys, so I can program these to do whatever I want. So I've got my scene switcher here. I can turn my lights on and off in the room here. This is to record and open Spotify. So that's what I've got so far. I'm sure I'll be adding to that as needed. Your Sunday afternoon, depending on where you are, or Sunday morning, or Monday morning, I guess, Sunday night. Thanks for being a part of it. Once again, head on over to youtube.com/sketchaday.com if you want to catch the full show. I do post the replays. I post a link to the final sketches as well. We chat, we hang out, all of that good stuff. Special shout out to all the Patreons who have been contributing. Much love, much appreciation. We will be having a Patreon pre-show on Wednesday per request of Matt, fantastic Patreon. And that will be your time. You guys will get 30 minutes ahead of everybody else to make suggestions, contributions, requests, whatever. You guys are gonna get ahead of the queue, so to speak. But this is how I warm up. Lots of lines. I haven't really been paying attention, so I'm gonna work on my accuracy with this next round. But head on over to sketchaday.live or youtube.com/sketchaday.com, where you'll be able to see the full show. It's gonna be a fun one because I'm gonna be taking your submissions, your suggestions, your ideas, sketches, and re-sketching. What's up, Tom, Latrice? Blessings to you too, Shaz. Elia, hello, hello. All right, next up we have circles. Just like that. I'm sketching with a Papermate Flare pen today. My circles feel a little bit off, so I probably need to work on these after the stream too. But the idea here is to get a proportionally representative, complete shape that approximates a circle as best as I can. Alright. A couple times here. That one's more of an ellipse, which we're going to get to in a second. That one's looking pretty good. Okay. So that's how I warm up. The reason we draw circles as industrial designers, there's lots of circles on products. A sphere is essentially a circle. You have articulation points, all that stuff that I want to be ready to sketch. And then next, I'm going to do some ellipses. Almost like we're cutting these spheres, you can imagine them. Draw some ellipses. So if you ever wonder how or why I draw the way I do, it has a lot to do with the way I warm up. Once again, if you're catching this on the Instagram, the stream will not be going more than 15-20 minutes. Instagram has a time limit. Plus, with YouTube, you get to interact, say hi, chat, whatever. All that good stuff. Yeah, Tom says he posted his sketches on Discord. I got those, so don't worry. I'm going to be looking at your submarine sketch that you submitted. The shoe sketch looks pretty good, so I may put a twist on it. There's a couple things that immediately stuck out to me. And I am going to be just using pens and markers today for the stream. I did just get my new Wacom Cintiq, however, so you can expect some more Photoshop, Illustrator content. I'm going to continue with the prototyping stuff as well. Seems like it's pretty well received. Meaning this 3D printed marker tray that we designed and put together. So I'll be doing more stuff like this. I've been kind of experimenting with some cable catches for my studio. You know, I've got fat Ethernet and power cables and audio stuff, so I had to make these a little bit bigger. But I wanted a custom solution that would accept my cables, so I can pry this open, mount this to the wall, and help with my organization. So just playing around a little bit. All right, so we're just warming up here, getting ready to draw some real stuff. And once again, if you're on the Instagram, you're not really going to be able to get the rest of what I'm doing here. I have a car in the queue, we've got a submarine, we've got some real products as well, salt shaker even, or pepper grinder, I should say. So you'll want to head over to youtube.com/sketchaday.com. You can use the link in my bio or just sketchaday.live. This exercise, if you've watched the live stream, you've seen before. The idea being, let's sketch a series of ellipses that increase in degree. I should actually try this where I decrease in degree, because I'm so used to increasing. That would be challenging. It is pretty challenging because I'm so used to thinking of it the other way. Alright, so this just allows me to practice things that may be in perspective. Another way to do this might be even having those lines converge or taper towards each other. And that way I get a better approximation of a perspective system. So what I mean is, if I flip this over, my son was writing because, but you could draw two lines like this and then progressively draw ellipses just to warm up. Okay, so they're getting bigger and wider as we move back here. Like so. So that's perspective, right? And if I just pick a few lines, this paper is too small for this sketch, but I'll show you guys anyways. If I pick a few lines here, something like that, we now have the beginnings of a car sketch of some sort. So I know a lot of you like to see cars, but it all begins with the fundamentals, making sure that you can sketch in perspective, things like ellipses and so forth. But here's a quick example of something of a car sketch. If I were to take these ellipses, I could kind of do the same thing. I'm going to switch pens to a Papermate Flare or brush pen. Or sorry, I mean a Sharpie. So I've got my Sharpies here. Alright. Let's see. Latrice is asking in the YouTube chat which Wacom I got. Yes, I got the Wacom Cintiq 16. I was trying out another tablet and decided, you know what, it's not for me. Sometimes you have to buy it nice, or you end up buying it twice, and that's kind of what happened. So I did post that review on the channel, you can check it out, but I wasn't super happy, so decided to swap it out for a Wacom. So yeah, this is why I warm up. This is how it helps me get those shapes in if I want to do something like a car. All that information pretty much is there, depending on the type of car, of course. Keep it loose, gestural, and there you go. Alright, just like that. So all those warm-up exercises that you hate to do, they're really just helping you practice those things that you need to do things like that car sketch you've always wanted to do. It all begins with those warm-ups. So like I said, I'm going to be resketching stuff today. So we're going to kick things off. Let's see, let me do a quick chat check-in on the YouTube. What's up, Oscar, Lynette? Hello, hello. Welcome, Lynette. Tom says he just finished sketching. Feel free to use any of his sketches. Cool. Yeah, I'll just pick a couple. Latrice, I answered that one. Rock Ola Jukebox. I'm not taking specific requests. I am resketching what was submitted. So you'll want to pay attention to my social media posts. Today is kind of a resketch day where I'm just taking suggestions, submissions, and how this is going to work I'll show you guys in just a sec, but I am looking at submissions that were made. So we'll kick things off with, and as you know, I'm terrible with names. So let's see, That Yash submitted this sketch, and so here's a submission on paper just for reference. As we kick things off, I'm gonna grab my giant pad of paper here. You guys on Instagram cannot see this. That's part of the problem. So you want to head over to YouTube where I can switch to my laptop. I can screen share, do all sorts of stuff. You guys can chat and participate. So this is a sketch done in orthographic view, meaning dead on side view. And I'm gonna do one of those, but also do a perspective view of this concept as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and switch back to my overhead here, and let's see. Alright, so let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is just sketch a quick thumbnail of the concept, just a side view sketch. Not using any templates helps, that kind of thing. That's why it's important to practice those fundamentals. Now with a car, depending on the type of car, you want a certain number of wheels, okay? And I'm going to do a thing here. Well, should I do that? Yeah, I'll just do it. So if I draw a square around this wheel and I want to multiply the square, it's really easy for me to, by multiply I mean figure out approximately 3 wheel lengths between the 2 wheels if I wanted to. But I'm going to go with something like this. But it gives me a good way to approximate. Alright, so going back to the sketch here, right, it's a very curvy design, lots of curves. The rocker panel on the car, however, would not be curved, so that's the first thing I want to point out, and that's this area right about here. This line would not be curved like that typically, so I'm going to do a straight line that just moves front to back, and we'll angle that just like so. So meaning there's a little bit of a taper front to back, okay? Now we've got these very expressive wheel flares, and it looks like some curvy, lots of curvy things happening. Now with design, I feel as though if you're gonna be using lots of curves, you have to have a resolution to those curves, okay, and a reason. So whether it's, hey, you know, front to back, I may do something like this where I can at least have a rational explanation or expression of what these lines are. So maybe it's tangency in the front and the back of the vehicle, maybe where that tangency happens. These pens are dead today. I gotta switch these out. Give me just a sec, guys. Boom. So it may be that I'm trying to create a relationship where the tangency happens. That's where perhaps, yep, that one's dead too. Man, these are all like struggling today. But it's okay. They're good, cheap pens, so we can just keep pushing on. Alright, that one's better. So right here where there's tangency, I might do something like that. And then where the break happens, then we can have a little break. It's maybe more of a cab forward design, which is fine. And then using that tangency to define things like the headlight here, okay, over the wheel flare in the back and the body side. In the original sketch, we just have a lot of lines that are kind of curvy and not necessarily relating to each other. So I'm trying to create some relationship in this hairy mess of lines here. It'll make a bit more sense in perspective when we get there. But point being, you know, I don't want to curve in the original sketch. This rocker panel is curved. It looks really weird. So I'm gonna do a nice straight line and then come down a bit closer to the wheels. It looks like we have some sort of air handling in front of the wheel flare, and I'm trying to stay true to the original design intent here, so I'm going to keep that as part of it. But again, it's always helpful, at least I find when I'm designing something, to just extend those lines and see what the resultant relationship is, because it's in those implied lines that often we find those beautiful combinations for a design. Alright, so this car has a foil. Alright, so I have a couple options here. I could take this curve and see if there's something I could do in terms of a foil for it. And that's actually kind of cool. I don't know if that would necessarily work, but I kind of like it. So there's a foil on the back, meaning I'm taking this curve as part of this air handling situation on the side and now extending that up, okay? So that makes it so that my design makes a little bit more sense, and maybe it's the top of the greenhouse here that's defining the height of the foil, for example, and the end of the foil could be related to this termination of the backside of the vehicle, right? So that's how I'm trying to search for the design through this initial concept. And let's go ahead and work on the front clip just a little bit. And let's see, we've got door cuts, mirror. I'll just put a placeholder for the mirror right there, but this is what we'll go with. So just a little bit more definition here than maybe was instituted in the original design. And it's a super rough sketch, guys, but cool thing is I can, if I really wanted to, take a Sharpie and just go over it like so. And that's going to pull out all the things that I need right here to kind of define the design a little bit better. Alright, so that's how I go about creating a more harmonious design. As far as sketch technique goes, the original sketch is a bit fuzzy. That's not to say that this one isn't, but the use of pencil, you kind of have to be a bit more deliberate with your stroke if you're using something like a pencil. So that's something you want to watch out for. Alright, so let's go ahead and do just a quick perspective view sketch here, and I can use, you know, this ellipse blob method like so. This is something I learned when I was at my internship at General Motors, and it was just a good way for me to kind of just put something on the page, right, like that maybe, and then start sketching out things like our greenhouse. Okay, so we can start that way like so. And as I'm doing this, I'm trying to pay attention to the view above so I can see what's happening. Alright, so for you guys on the Instagram, I'm gonna bounce, so head on over to YouTube and you'll catch the rest of this. I'll throw oh, you can't see? Oh shoot, I'm so sorry. My apologies. There we go, on the YouTube. So I'm gonna jump back over to YouTube and then I'll go over my explanation of this thumbnail once again so you guys can see. But head on over to YouTube. Sorry about ignoring the chat there, guys, and we'll peel off here and continue. Thanks, Instagrammers. Peace out. Whew. Sorry guys, always a work in progress. I'll do that one more time. One more time. Okay? So I did this thumbnail, and this will give me a chance to kind of clean it up, but in the original sketch, which you'll see in the video, I'll make sure it's in the replay, we kind of established the distance between our two wheels here. Okay? Like so. This is about 2.5 to 3 wheels. Right there. Sorry about that, guys. Really sorry about that on the YouTube. Alright, and then the front clip like so. And I was talking about curves in a design and how, for me anyways, I like to try and find some sort of resolution with things. And just by extending the lines, oftentimes you're able to find those associations and that interplay that makes sense. So on the back here, here's this foil, for example, and there's some air handling on the side of the vehicle. Alright, so I might be able to do something like this where now I have a definition for that. The rocker panel, which is this line at the bottom of the original sketch, was curved, which you don't really see that on a vehicle. So my initial thought was, okay, let me take some of that curve out, and I'm trying to be true to the initial design here for sure. Alright, just placeholder on the wheels here. Yeah, sorry about that. I got a little carried away explaining things. So sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, just kind of working these together, and then maybe on the body side here, you know, as I pull these surfaces into each other, that's gonna help with the definition of some of this stuff. Alright, I'm gonna add a little extension on the back here because I kind of want some cool fins. Maybe this is more of a mid-engine vehicle, you know, something like a Porsche Spider or something. But we'll put some obnoxious fin on the back. But even this line here, how it kind of, this curve shoots down, and the intersection of those things is really what's going to drive these shapes, okay? So even on the side here where these shapes intersect, I might go, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm really digging this graphic. Graphic just means like, here's a shape, okay? I'm really digging that. Maybe this line relates in like so. Alright, so a little bit more than sketching today, a little bit of a design lesson for you in terms of how to create something a bit more harmonious. Alright. And just kind of placeholder for the rims here. Okay, I'm glad you guys are good. So sorry about that. You're probably just screaming in chat, and obviously I can't hear. I think what I actually need for my desk is going to be my next purchase, is I need another monitor so I can put up those reference images or those things that I need to look at, but always make sure I can see the chat. Right? That's the other thing I need to do. Alright, so just continuing to extend some of these lines. Right? And that's not to say everything has to be parallel or even collinear or related, but it does introduce a bit of harmony when you can find those like juicy connections between the elements that you're putting on a page. So just something for you to think about as you're designing something. All right. What's up, Molly? Hey. Oh, you guys know each other. Cool. All right. So now I've kind of tweaked the design, and we have that. I was mentioning on the YouTube that I'm just going to use this ellipse kind of method, blob method. I have a video on that on my YouTube. So just starting with the front cab here. These pens are really giving me grief today. I think I need a new set. I need a new set of pens so that... Why is my phone frozen? Alright. New set of pens so I can get some juicy line work on. This is Sketch-A-Day Live, Sunday. This is not a test. I know it's been rough, but it is not a test. There's just always technical difficulties. Alright, I'm going to do kind of a center line here. Alright, just like that. Let's do another center line. And now I'm just going to reference these two views. Okay? like so. Maybe even throw an axis down for my front wheel. That's something we can do. And I know that ellipse is right because here's my line that goes back in perspective like so. Okay. Now I can get my rocker panel. The body side here, probably a little bit high. Maybe I'll move this wheel up like so. Yeah, I don't know what's up with these pens today. It's always something. Like I've grabbed I swear I've grabbed like 10 pens and they're all kind of messed up. So my apologies. Even this one, so weird. They're all dried out. Okay, that one's not bad. Nope, spoke too soon. There we go. All right, so sketching that cab out. And now on the body side, just trying to make sure I capture this graphic, right? So looking at these shapes, seeing if I can come in and represent a bit of what that might be. I think this is one of those sketches that's gonna call for an overlay just because I keep blowing through these pens. What's good, Matthew? Hey. Yeah, I keep blowing through these pens and they are giving me grief, so. Alright, so kind of like we did here, I'm just gonna search out the form. Alright. Let's keep it rough here for now. I know toward the back we had that fin, so I'm just gonna map that out like so. Boom. And now I have some sort of fin. I have to figure out on the inside of this what this looks like. So I'll just connect those together. And then we also had that curve, right? Now, this doesn't mean that, you know, this fin is exactly in line, in plane with that, because surface-wise, we're probably looking at something more like this. Right, so that's one of the things that makes cars so tricky, is oftentimes you find that in one view you get that harmonious thing, but in the other view you don't. Alright, so this potentially or possibly is one of those cases where we may not get that view. Alright, so like I said, maybe this is some sort of mid-engine vehicle, so I'll just put fins on the back. It wasn't specified in the, not that I asked, but it wasn't specified in the Discord what type of vehicle this is, so I'm just gonna assume some sort of mid-engine vehicle. Alright, rear wheel drive, mid-engine, you know, maybe Spider-esque type vehicle. Alright, so let's do the front clip here. On the front, I kind of had this area, which is what I'm doing now. Just wrapping down like so. Alright, so hopefully you can see that coming together, and to continue with having these forms relate together, maybe where the headlight terminates here, that's a good point to kind of create this harmonious relationship right in there. We'll just block that in because I am going to have to resketch this sketch. Maybe just a little bit of body kit stuff here on the front, like so. Alright. Something like that. Let's get our dash in place. Just kind of keep it expressive, keep it loose. Alright, we got that little change in angle here. I'm going to change the trajectory of that just ever so slightly, like so. Crayons don't dry out, everyone, says Sean. That is true. Crayons don't dry out, for sure. Alright, so hopefully you can see how we're building this together. Alright. I really like this song, by the way. I can share the playlist link. It's just a copyright-free lo-fi playlist I found on Spotify. So if you're interested, I can share that. But yeah, this actually is looking pretty good. So I need to do the wheel flares here. Alright, not wheel flares, but the wheel wells. Alright, meaning it's not going to be a perfect circle. So usually right about this point, I like to kind of tangent off like so. And then I've got this rare clip that I've got to incorporate here. Like so, boom, boom, boom. Alright, when in doubt, rough it out. That's how we do on sketch day. We are resketching submissions from you guys. I need to jump to the next sketch from Hector Silva. He's gonna miss out on that because I think he's got a conflict here in just a sec, but he can catch the replay. It's all good. Alright. So now we just kind of have to decide, you know, if it's maybe more of a Japanese vehicle, we've got more angular treatment. If it's something else, then just making sure that, you know, there's some harmony here in this whole area. But I can figure that out in the overlay. Alright. So first sketch that you guys missed out on, then we refined it. Here's my perspective version, and now let's do our final approach. Let's land this plane. This is Sketch Day live, Sunday, May 3. Hope you guys are staying safe and being happy, all that good stuff. If this is your first time, hit subscribe, turn on alerts, so you don't miss when we go live, alright? So one more time. Oh yeah, I finally got a juicy one. I was like, I don't know what's happening, if it's the paper or something else, but man, it's kind of struggling with those pens for a minute. Alright, so just working to pull out some of this initial kind of form idea that we had. You know, this is our guide for how we treat the rest of the sketch, so kind of important to make sure you hit that, get it correct, all that good stuff. Alright, let's keep the rims simple. I'm not gonna do the black stuff just yet, unless we have time. I feel like the first sketch on the streams is usually like the warm-up sketch and everything goes faster, so don't worry if you guys are like, man, it's been taking forever on this one. Usually it's kind of a warm-up, so. Alright. Oh yeah, something like that. Boom. Okay, so that's enough for our side view, and now I'm gonna do, actually looking at this, I want to make some other changes, but we'll leave it there for now. So now I will resketch this view that we had. Remember, with resketching, it's an opportunity for you to kind of tweak things, fix them if you want. Okay. So what I try to do is just keep it loose, keep it fresh. Don't trace, but resketch. All right. Find those connections that make sense for your drawing. All right, something like that. Let's see, Tom says it looks like a car from Rocket League. Yeah, I haven't played Rocket League in a minute, but I can totally see that. I guess we're always influenced by something. It does kind of have a short snout to it. Alright, but again, opportunity to change things just by resketching. Okay, so even here, you know, I found a better resolution to this front clip, I think. Alright, something like that. Just a little bit of the interior of the vehicle, just hinting at it, not really committing to that design. But through the use of silhouettes, we can suggest seats or whatever elements are important to the vehicle. This is Sketch Day Live. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday, all of that good stuff. I might steal a little bit from the Audi R8 here. So I like the idea of maybe some sort of carbon fiber rear. Alright, so maybe this back portion has a different color break, all of that good stuff. But all these lines, like I said, pulling from this orthographic view to try and translate into this view, okay? And that took 3, yeah, this is the third, so 3 overlays. That's kind of what this is taken, but like I always say, when in doubt, rough it out. Light until you get it right. I used to think whenever I would see sketches from like people that were really talented, it's like, man, they nailed that in one shot. But the truth is, a lot of times it takes many attempts to get that final sketch that looks decent. So here I have drawn 2 ellipses, and rather than drawing my wheels completely flush, like I said, those are placeholders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't tell anyone that this one has 7 and this one has 8, okay? Another trick there, but a lot of times, you know, just to help with the dynamic of the sketch, I'll go ahead and do a secondary ellipse on the inside, a little bit smaller, pull it in, and then now we have a more 3-dimensional presentation of these rims. All right. Even things like tying in this body line here to the back, try and think about, okay, how am I resolving these elements in my form or my design or whatever it is you're doing? All an important part of the process. I should mention, because some of you have asked in the past, if you do want to contribute, there are links in the video frame and the video description. So paypal.me/sketchday, or you can sign up to be a Patreon. That's another great way to support what we're doing. There's also Venmo, or better yet, if you want to just get something from the store, that's another great way to kind of support what we're doing. All right, so there is my perspective view sketch of the car real quick. Just to remind you guys what we're working with here. That's the original. I've made a few changes, but tried to incorporate this air handling on the side, but also tie into the foil, resolve some of these curves so they're not just waves, okay? And then I'll go ahead and, it looks like we have some fins on the front here. I'll go ahead and incorporate those in as well. All right, so there's fins on the front. Let's make sure I capture a few fins here, like so. And whenever I do these resketches, I'm trying to respect the original design intent, so hopefully I'm not completely butchering this too much as we resketch and show you a few things I would have done differently. Alright, Sketch Day Live, once again, thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are being safe, smart, and all that good stuff. Alright, so the body side's a little bit short, but whatever, let's roll with it, guys. Let's keep moving here. What I mean is, if I were to take this and then, let's see, 1, 2, yeah, it's more like 2, so this wheel is kind of pushed in a little bit, but don't tell anyone. All right, on the front, let's just do some little feature here. All right, maybe that's an intake on the top for our mid-engine crazy. We'll just say it's a Hot Wheels car instead of a real car. But maybe that's an intake that ties in or something. Thank you, Roshan. Roshan says, loving those lines. Thank you. Too kind. If you haven't followed him yet, check him out on YouTube. Just search for the name Roshan Hakim and you will find all this good stuff. Okay, so I need votes on color for this one. While you're doing that, I'm gonna look at the next sketch I'm gonna do here. I think I'll do Hector's, and it's a Michael Graves Peppermill by Alessi. So I'll be doing that, but let me know color-wise what you want to see. Here's my markers that I'm working with. So let me know what challenge you want to give me. One color for the vehicle, or I guess two colors for the vehicle, because we have that front and back section. So let me know in the chat what you think. Tom is asking, did I learn clay modeling at GM? I didn't learn it, but I was exposed to it, so I kind of... Ooh, a black car. That'd be interesting. Actually, I could do that. Should we do black? Like, really black? Dark? That would be hard to do. But I would have to do a secondary color in the background to kind of help it. Should we do black, purple, light blue, lime green, and black? Black seems like a challenge. I've done yellow before, Roshan, so I think I'm gonna give myself the challenge of black. But since we're using neutrals, I'm going to, and this could be a colossal failure, but because I love you, I'm gonna try it. So I'm gonna jump to my Copics here, and let's use, let me see, do I have, pardon me, I'm gonna use all these neutral grays, all these neutral gray Copics, and for some reason I have multiples of them, but let's keep pushing through. Alright, so neutral gray, 5, 8, 10, 7. That should be enough to start. I probably need the 3 and the 1 for some highlights. Alright, let's do a black car. Let's do it. Let's do the rear clip of the car, this back section. I'll do that in red or something. Alright, so whenever I'm doing a car, I like to think of the lighting situation. Okay, so if it's being lit from this side, it's going to have a different appearance than if it's being lit from the back. So I'm going to light it from this side. But to start, I like to kind of map out with my marker where my highlights will be and so forth. So if this is an upward facing surface, for example, that transitions up, then I like to kind of block that out. And using these lines, I can determine where I need to put my highlights and stuff. Yes, the Copics are out. Here, for example, I'm going to have a nice light spot. Okay, because it's an upward facing surface. Same thing here, it's kind of upward facing as well. This is going to be really dark right under here. And then from the floor itself, we're going to have some reflected light. So that's why I stopped short right there. This will be dark and then light. So think about the way your surfaces are facing. And that's going to help you determine how to light the scene. Now, about halfway down the vehicle here, okay, I'm going to kind of switch because I'll likely have a secondary light source, so primary, secondary. That's how I'm thinking of things. Alright, so that means that I'm not only thinking of the primary source, and the car itself is going to have some shape to it. So about halfway here, let's see, that's going to be light. I'm going to have a little bit of dark right there, and then light. And you'll notice I'm using my neutral gray 3. And part of the reason for that is I want to make sure I can work light as I'm mapping out these highlights and these areas so that I don't go too dark. Because if I go too dark, it's a lot harder to fix than if I just start with some nice light tones. Just get these wheel wells shaded in a little bit here. I gotta remind myself though, on the back side of the vehicle, I do want to do red. So let me just grab a quick red marker here, kind of put my stake in the ground, so to speak, figuratively speaking. And that way at least I just know what I'm anticipating doing. Sometimes I'll even just hit the area with a little bit of pink, but in this case, I'll just outline it. Like so. The tail of the vehicle, I want it to be, and maybe it actually just does come up to the top here a little bit, the red. So we'll have the red kind of wrapping this back section. That's what I meant by borrowing from the Audi R8 a little bit, right through there. Okay, so at least that way I've put a stake in the ground. All right, so back to black, which is admittedly a little nerve-wracking. It's always hard to go super dark when you're doing marker renderings. All right. So now I'm gonna start working on things like reflections, or if there's a surface that's facing the side of the scene, right? And this is about pulling in principles of lighting surfaces like cylinders where you have a shadow core and so forth, but on a larger scale. You're dealing with reflections, right? So this is the flat side of the wheel flare, or you could even argue that it's part of a tire, but just mapping that in, placing this little gray bit in as well, right through there, like so, something like that. All right, a lot of this you kind of learn by just looking at vehicles in real life and seeing how the scene is kind of lit. And that really just helps inform. And that's why I believe in drawing from observation as well as drawing from imagination. When you sit and look at something, you're able to kind of study it and then pull from that memory as you're trying to sketch or draw the real thing. All right, I don't think I've even used this neutral gray Copic before, honestly. Usually I'm using a cool gray, but I wanted to try something a little different. The neutral gray just lacks a bit of the blue tone that you kind of see in Copic markers, at least the cool gray Copic markers. So one thing I found useful with markers is just to commit to it, be expressive, right? Don't be afraid to move quickly with those markers as you're shading. All right. And remember, there's quite literally always a fix. Sometimes that fix involves starting over, sadly, but usually you don't have to. All right. Usually I found that you don't have to. So if you can give yourself the room to mess up and creatively figure out a way to either trick the viewer or adapt, like inherently that helps the aesthetic of the sketch you're producing. So it also helps me just relax when I tell myself, you know what, it's okay. If I mess up, it's a part of the process. My sketch doesn't have to be perfect. All right. Let's see. Ilya, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Ilya is asking, when do you use my wrist and when do I use my shoulder? If there's a curve, so I'll give you an example here, something like on the top of the vehicle, I'll use my wrist. But I do try, like in this case, the curve is a little bit longer, so I'm using my elbow at this point, right there. I'm leaving this spot intentionally light because I know I'm gonna need some blending happening there. But if I can reasonably manage the curve that I'm shading, then I will use my wrist. If it's a bigger sweep, then I'll use my shoulder. But I do believe a lot of that comes with experience. So that's something you'll kind of just have to decide for yourself. But as a rule of thumb or general guidelines I believe are meant to be broken. So bottom line is, it just depends on what works for you. We have a dry marker. Guys. I probably didn't cap it right, so this one will have to go to the marker hospital and I'll have to fix it. Thankfully though, I've got backup neutral 7s that are not dried up. So this is now a neutral gray 7. Alright. I'm just building up these values as we go. And having a range of values for your markers, I think, is important if you are using markers to create your sketch. I used to be really afraid of contrast and just committing, but that's where you get that bold presentation that's just emotionally engaging, interesting, compelling. It just draws you in as a viewer, all of that good stuff. I feel like this sketch is taking way too long, but I think it's gonna look cool, so I'll allow it. This is Sketch a Day Live. Thanks for joining. I'm Spencer. Got some friends here. Thanks for tuning in as well to my sketch presentation. I am resketching sketches submitted by you guys, so thank you for those submissions. In this case, to the Discord. We have a Discord. That link should be in the video description, so you can check that out. We are rendering or coloring a black car. Alright, so that's what I'm doing here. And yes, Tim is right. With Copics, you can refill them, which is nice. I have tons of inks. As some of you know, Tom probably knows, but these are some of the inks that I have for my Copics, so I just have to grab my, let's see, N7 ink here. It hasn't even been opened yet, but I'll just grab that, touch up the marker after the stream, and it'll be like having a brand new marker, which is pretty cool. So, yes, that's one of the reasons I love Copic markers is, oops, that was a 30%, but you can refill them, so super nice. So again, just remember, if you are working with markers, work light until you get it right. Okay. That's because it's a lot easier to go darker with your markers than it is to try and go lighter with those markers. All right. All right, so we're just building values. Keep going here. Yes, Tom, that's more than 200. It's probably $300-400 right there, for sure. But thank you to your support, for all of you. Seriously, I've had some awesome contributions in the past, which has totally helped me acquire some of those. All right, so we'll just keep going here, building up. I feel like there's a little too many white spots on the car because we want to get to the point where it is black. All right, and with the black car, you're going to get some of the sky reflection as well as the ground, so I am trying to be sensitive to that as I fill in here. But I do know there are some spots that I do want to be black, or at least very close to black. So I have this sketch marker here. I've also got a neutral gray 9 that I can use, which is not quite black, but it's close enough. And now I can start to get the contrast that I want, where I want it, and so forth. But yeah, black's really hard, so I appreciate the challenge, guys. Man, maybe I'll only get to 3 of these today, but I think the other ones I won't use as much marker or be as detailed. Plus I did like 3 overlays of this one. Alright, so this is the neutral gray 9, N9, okay? So we're close to black, but not quite, and it gives me a chance to refine, get contrast where I need it, right? Sometimes when you think black, you're like, oh, well, I should start with black. No, you want to start with your lightest lights and go to your darkest darks, alright? You need that wiggle room to blend your colors, tones, and all that good stuff, and make sure that the form still reads. Super important. So in the body side here, you know, I may skip a few lines, things like that, introduce some jagged edges, and that's really just about trying to convey that there are things reflecting. Actually, I'm going to shade this in solid, maybe just as a panel, but there are things being reflected into the side of the vehicle, okay, that are going to cause those aberrations, or you might call them artifacts in the side. But by starting light, it gives me a chance to establish where things go without jumping all the way into black. Isn't white harder to draw because you can't go lighter than white? Yes. If you want me to do something white, I could probably do that either this week on the channel or on another live. But you're right, white is challenging as well. White and black are challenging for their own reasons, but certainly not impossible to do. With white, you just have to take a little bit different approach, but totally doable. This is Sketch Day Live. Thanks for joining. I just started. I feel like every show I'm saying what Netflix show I've been watching, but I just started Waco. That's an interesting one. If you guys haven't seen it, just using a pen here to clean up. But yeah, I just started watching that one. It's kind of intense too. Maybe I just like intense shows on Netflix. Yeah, I'm not sure with this light if I wanted to. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep that as a ledge, like a light catching edge. I'll refine that with a little bit of white pencil. And now for the front clip, or the hood rather. Just darken this up. Any tips for how to sketch the light source in headlights? Photoshop, that's my tip. No, you need opaque inks to do that. So I could, let me think about this. Yeah, I could just shade over this if I wanted to, because I have enough opaque inks, and I'll show you how to brighten that up as well. I will post the final sketch in the Google Drive. You guys can check that out, as well as the recap. So if you missed this, you missed the beginning, you have questions, there will be a recap segment for this guy that you guys will be able to check out. Alright, so don't worry, I got you. All right. Okay, so we're getting pretty dark on this now. You know, we have some light catching surfaces here on the side. I'm not super happy with this. I gotta figure out a way to clean it up just a little bit. But we'll start with just a dark neutral, continuing in the series of neutral grays. I swear I had an N10. Maybe it got away from, oh, there it is. Neutral gray 10. Alright, so maybe something like this. Horizon in there. Okay, something like that. And this isn't quite black, but it's dark enough that it gives me a little bit of a wiggle room if I need to go absolutely darker. I have my Copic Special Black. I've got India ink pens, all sorts of ways to just push that contrast just a little bit more. So that's why I like it. And you know, even in some of these reflective areas here, we'll also bring in a bit of opaque white as well to kind of help out. But yeah, just making sure we get shadow where we need it and so forth. Sorry if I sound funny, by the way, my mustache keeps tickling me because it's a little bit long and I forgot to trim today, so I'm like constantly having an itch right now, or a little bit of a tickle. Just a little tickle. So Sketch Day Live, thanks for joining once again. We are sketching and rendering this vehicle in black as requested by you guys. Thanks for the challenge as always. I feel like you guys keep me on my toes. Like, you make me do the things I'm not the most comfortable with. So I appreciate that. If this is your first time, be sure to hit subscribe, turn on alerts. Check it out. We go live 3 times a week now on Sketch Day. Sometimes on other channels too. I've done some stuff for Adobe. I don't know if you guys caught that this week, but I did some interior design stuff with Adobe using Photoshop. So if you're looking for something a little different, I can share that link a little bit later. Just remind me. Or if you guys have the link, just post it up in the chat so everyone can see. But that was super fun. In any case, subscribe, turn on alerts, and you won't miss the show. If you want to participate on a deeper level, hit up patreon.com/sketchaday. That is where you can get ahead of the curve, so to speak. And if you want to have your suggestions implemented, join us for the pre-show, all that good stuff, that's the place to be. And that's patreon.com/sketchaday. Received a lovely note from Matthew. He's been following me for years and mentioned that he felt like it was time to pitch in. So much appreciated. Not required, but certainly appreciated, especially now in these somewhat uncertain times. So I'm just using this black to kind of help enhance reflections where I need it, and then I'll just work on the blend here, going back. By going back, I mean on the far side of the vehicle. As it is black. I keep saying it's black as if my saying it will make it more black. But I just got to do the work and show you guys how it's done, or how I do it. I don't think I've actually rendered a black vehicle, so this is a bit of experimentation on my part, but when you understand the tools enough, it gets a lot easier to just kind of do these things. Alright. So now I gotta get this backside in red, and then we'll finish up the rest here. All right. How long have I been designing and drawing stuff like this? About 15 years. Let's see, 2006, 14 years. So about 14 years now. That's how long I've been designing stuff. I've done stuff for a lot of different clients. Right now, I just freelance. I do illustration. I teach. I will be rolling out. I feel like the last 4 streams I've said this, but I will be rolling out tutoring options. So if that's something you're interested in or would like to do, then you'll at least have some transparency on how I do that and what that would take. So that's something else I do. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 13 years now. 13, 14 years. And I love it. I mean, I do a lot more than just draw pictures. I actually have designed apps, done videos, illustrations, done art pieces for clients. It's all over the place. I consider myself actually more of a creative facilitator than an industrial designer in the traditional sense, which I know maybe sounds a little bit pretentious. So we've got our first second looks like comment of the day. I just think those are funny because everything looks like something. Anyhow. But yeah, I consider myself more of a creative facilitator than I do an industrial designer in a traditional sense, just because I do so many things and I enjoy doing so many things. It's hard to just pick one thing and say, yeah, I design toilet paper roll holders or whatever. It's not super fun to me, so I try to keep myself open to different opportunities, doing different things, but drawing is kind of my go-to thing that I do. Thank you, Inkwell. Much appreciated. Inkwell says, looks good. I'm trying, man. I mean, fundamentally, I think I messed up on some things on the sketch. That's another thing I'm trying to embrace a bit more of, in full transparency for you guys. I don't want to create the impression that the stuff I do is meant to be perfect or like pristine. I'm not in that business. It's, hey, how can we work through understanding how to draw things and show those concepts. Carl is asking, do I have a portfolio online? Yes and no. I have work samples on Behance that you can check out, but as far as projects go, a lot of them are still under NDA. So if I'm working with a potential client, I'll have them engage with me on a personal level, and then I'll share that work in confidence. Maybe I should say that, maybe I shouldn't, but so then yeah, I'll share that work, and then that way they can have an understanding of what I do. But yeah, check out Behance. I am working on, I shouldn't say I am working on it. My intention is to have my actual portfolio website up that's password protected. I'll just say sometime in the near future. But these things take time, as you know. So we'll see. I think on this front clip, I don't know what this area is necessarily, but I do want to tie in some red somehow, front to back. So just hitting that with some red there. Maybe the interior we could hit with red as well. Red seats, that kind of thing. Thanks for joining me on Sketch Day Live. I am Spencer. I love drawing. Been doing it for a while. Hit subscribe, turn on alerts if you enjoy this. If you hate it, keep it to yourself. Just kidding. All comments welcome. I'm always looking for opportunities to improve. Had a great chat with a fan over Instagram about how to store markers. That was interesting this week. You know, I've been doing this for a while, so I kind of had my way of doing it, and it was apparently upsetting that I did it my way. upsetting enough to message me. So, you know, I learned some interesting stuff. Maybe that's why my N7 marker dried up. Probably not, because I store them horizontally. But the discussion was about whether you store the markers horizontally or vertically, what the best way to do that is, and why. But I haven't had too many issues. You know, more importantly for me, it was about keeping them in an airtight container. That seems to help the most for me. Alright, so just on the outline here, particularly away from the light source, a little bit of a darker line if there's overlaps, things like that. This is a Pitt brush pen. I really like them. Super juicy. Just really great pen. And it has a brush tip, so it means that I can be expressive with my stroke if I need to be. Really great for highlights and reflections, but outlines as well, if you need to push those values, right? They do make them with a medium tip and a broad tip as well. I do need to, man, I'm coming up with this like massive to-do list, so hopefully I can get through this week, but I do need to update my website, particularly the stuff I use section, because that's where I have things like this brush pen, and I can talk a little bit about that more. But I definitely need to update that with some juicy information on why I like them, what I use them for, and where you guys can find them. Once again, a great way to support the page. That's sketchaday.com/stuff. It's all about the stuff I use. I even talk about the cameras and the setup in the studio. So if you're looking to get into streaming of any kind, you'll kind of know what I use. Those are affiliate links, just full disclosure. So again, if you do decide to get some of that stuff, if you use those links, it totally helps us here. All right. I just wanted to add some cool lighting effect here on the cab itself. I'll blend with some gray in the middle here, like so. Yeah, black was a tough challenge, guys, I will say. So thank you. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let me think here. This is a little bit off in the front. See if I can fix that with maybe a little bit of shadow under this front clip. That looks a lot better. Just kind of sketching a little bit here. I haven't even gotten to the white pen to really make things pop yet, so I think we're in pretty good shape. Have you ever thought about doing a design podcast? Yes. And if my friend Saul is watching, I'm so sorry. I do have an interview episode for Sketchaday coming back, where I will be trying to reach out to some friends and interviewing them. So those I'll make available as video on the YouTube, but also for those interested, I can do an audio version of some sort. All right, so this is where we're gonna make those lights pop just a little bit. All right. So just putting in those reflections just to help out. But yeah, I've thought about doing a podcast. I feel like everyone has a podcast though, so if I'm gonna do it, I would definitely want it to be somewhat different. I don't know what that looks like necessarily. So far, I'm thinking something along the lines of, hey, talk about your process and your journey into design, and maybe tell us a little bit about what you do. Not so much a demo, but just talk through that process. Okay, just getting some treads on the tires here. I need to mute this, meaning tone it down. I can do that with some marker on top. So not a big deal. And it's not like realistic real tread in the sense that this is exactly the tread you would find on a vehicle, but more so, here's something that looks tread-like, so that people make that association. So these white pens, I really do enjoy using them. I think you can overdo it. I've seen drawings where it is a bit overdone, but if you're careful and judicious about it, it can really help your drawings just pop, I think, that much more. I do want to work on a little bit of the blend right in this wheel flare, so I'm going to take a 3 and 5, and then we're going to hit turbo speed and get the other sketches done. Hopefully you're enjoying the show, guys. Thanks so much for being here. This is fun, as always. Normally we do Sci-Fi Sunday, but I wanted to take a little bit of a break from doing sci-fi stuff. And hopefully you guys are enjoying this little departure. Alright, so that was a neutral 8, so let me take a 7, kind of fill in a little bit here. And I want to take a 6, finish out this blend. Kind of blend that out. Alcohol, the Copic markers, they're alcohol based, so it's pretty easy to kind of blend things if you're careful and you know what you're doing. Just kind of wake up that ink. You may have noticed I was kind of scrubbing the paper a little bit. That's just to get the pigment that was on the paper to kind of reactivate, dissolved a little bit, so that you can come back and just make that blend. Chart packs are another great marker that blends well. You can find all that information on sketchaday.com/stuff. That's where you want to be if you want to know about all the tools and things that I use to create my sketches. I guess for this episode I need to post the befores and afters, so I'll make sure I try and do that when I do post these sketches. And you can find them on the Google Drive. That's where you'll want to go, okay? And that link is in the video description if you're trying to find it. Alright, almost there, guys. Black is really hard, so I hope you understand. You asked for it, though. Y'all asked for it. I don't know, maybe I need to just do more black renderings, and then I'll be ready for the next time you're like, do a black teddy bear or something. Thanks for your patience. Hopefully this process makes sense. If you you missed something or you're trying to do it for yourself, you can always catch the replays of Sketch a Day Live. It's a thing I'm doing for you guys now. See, Tom says maybe you could talk about the industrial design industry and discuss where you think design's going. Yeah, I could do that. If that's something you're really interested in, let me know, for real. Obviously, I do a lot of different things on the YouTube here. This last week, we did 3D printed and prototyped some marker stands. This next week, I don't know if you remember the eyeglass project, but I'm going to be... I wanted to challenge myself a little bit in CAD, so I'm going to make a version of those and make it so I can put them on my face. So watch out for that. That'll be a part of the video content. So yeah, I'm trying to mix things up a little bit, but also make it so that there's always that traditional good stuff that you guys like that'll be available here on the channel. So don't worry, none of that's going away. We're just expanding. Sketch a black hole. Apparently YouTube thinks that saying black in a live stream is worthy of censorship, so I had to just approve Tom's comment about a black hole. Although that's not to say comments on YouTube can be vile. Like, holy crap, I've encountered a lot of stuff, man. If I were to give you guys a glimpse into my comments, you'd be like, holy crap, what? People say that stuff? I'd be like, yeah. People do say those things about me. I've been called many things, friends. Many, many things. All right. I think we're in a pretty good spot here, so probably one of those sketches I could spend a ton more time on, but we'll call it good here. This one took way too long, but I certainly had fun. So once again, thank you for the suggestions, and hopefully you learned a thing or two. I want to do some like texture thing on this back panel, so let's just put a series of white dots here. That's where I said I was like borrowing from the Audi R8 a little bit. Maybe just in that little area. Tom says they just insecure. Maybe so. Maybe so. But yeah, I've seen many a vile comment in my internet experiences as I've done this stuff, so it's certainly been interesting. Sketch a Day Live, thanks for joining, being a part of the stream. We do this 3 times a week. Forgot to shake my pen here, but we do this 3 times a week. Wednesdays, Sundays, and Fridays. This is the Sunday show. And I just tried to put some fluorescent ink on that didn't work, so I'm gonna have to take a look at this marker here, but I'm gonna leave those be. Leave this be. Call it good. So there's our first sketch, some snub-nosed, sporty looking car. Charlie says, good effort, Spencer. I have a black car to see his reference, and it's interesting the amount of reflection you can see on a dark, glossy surface. That's true. I mean, if I were being, like, if this were in an environment, you'd probably see, you know, some sort of tree things or just lots of different things in here. So, yes, it is certainly interesting how much you see in a reflective surface, you know, whether it's people or trees or whatever the case may be. You do get a lot of that. So like I was saying, something I could probably work on a bit more, particularly, and I wasn't looking at reference for this, so just kind of leaning on my own experiences, and just trying to replicate what I've seen before. So that's why I say it's important to draw from observation, so you can draw from your imagination and create a reasonably decent representation of something that might be real. Because the goal here is not to replicate, but to communicate, particularly if it's a concept of some sort. Yeah, I can't stop. It's a forever sketch. Every now and then we have one of those, but I'm super happy with it. Okay, cool. An hour and 25. Let's get 2 more done. So the next sketch we have is by, let's see, Hector Silva. He's a good buddy of mine. He's actually really talented. He wanted me to redo this sketch. So I'm like, really? It looks good as it is. But I think more so, he just wanted to see it in my style. All right, so we're just gonna jump right in and do this one. I'm gonna pull it up for reference just because I'm pulling up the original design actually. So the original design is this Michael Graves pepper mill. Apparently it's a $135. So I'm gonna have that up as reference, and I'll just do 2 quick views here. It's got a flare on the bottom, like so. Got the grinder on the top. Hector's style is more of a doodle style than mine. I tend to be a lot scratchier with my sketches and let the final lines come through as kind of part of the overall look, I guess you could say. All right, so we've got these kind of tabs here. I'm gonna sketch in, and usually it takes me a minute if I'm sketching something to kind of get an understanding of the overall form and perspective. Just FYI, I think if you guys had watched me do the alpaca that I did, remember that took a few tries, and then finally I was like, okay, I've kind of got the hang of an alpaca here, so then I could be like, all right, let's go, we got this. So probably a similar thing here where it'll take me a few tries. So I'll do 1 view, maybe another view here. This is Sketch A Day Live. Thanks for joining. Maybe we'll do 2 more views or something. Alright. I think after this view, I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I think after this view, I should be okay to kind of just freestyle and sketch a couple of these. Hector was more interested in my exchange. And I should say, if you want to participate in stuff like this, definitely join the Discord. It's going to give you a chance to essentially be a part of the community. I'm not always there, but they're awesome, talented people that can help answer your questions. I think the next one we had was a sub by Tom that I wanted to take a look at. Alright, I kind of have the geometry overall design here. This one's a little bit wonky. Wonky just means out of place or weird, FYI. Alright. I'm just gonna fudge a little shadow here on the page for that one. Maybe just an extended drop shadow there. And then now I can turn off my reference and just kind of draw. Because I mean, I have now on the paper anyways a little bit to reference. Have I tried drawing in the style of Sid Mead? Not sure what you mean by that. It looks like you appended cyberpunk to that comment. Yeah, I mean, I love his contributions to concept art and futurism and just dreaming about, you know, the future in general. I think as far as the style goes, if you mean like drawing with gray marker and doing that kind of thing, yeah, I've done that before, certainly. So I'm just trying a different perspective here. It feels off, like this ellipse should be more this shape, like so. But yeah, I certainly appreciate his contributions and what he did. I was heavily influenced by Feng Zhu, which I believe, or who I believe was likely influenced by Sid Mead as well. Carl is asking, can you tell us a bit about your first job as a designer? Sure. I'll start with my internship. So I was a sophomore at the time, meaning a second year student, and my first internship was with a company called Astro Studios. And let's see, 1, 2, 3. So they are a firm in San Francisco, and at the time, I suppose it's debatable now, but at the time they were like top of the top. You know, like if you got an internship at Astro Studios, it was a big deal. Still love them and everything they do, but I was lucky. I was walking through the hallway at school one day, and my professor at the time was like, "Hey, do you have a portfolio ready?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually I do." And typically sophomores at the school I was at, they didn't really carry or have portfolios ready to send to a job interviewer. I just kind of did. I was lucky, or prepared rather. And so I send this portfolio to Astro, and I get a response like, "Hey, yeah, we'd love to have you. This is just a filler internship position." So I wasn't even a real intern. It was just like, "Yeah, we got 6 weeks. We don't have an employee right now to fill that spot. So if you want to, come hang out. Let's do it," basically. So I was like, okay. So I go and take that internship, and it was awesome. Like it felt surreal again because I was a sophomore at the time, and at my school, sophomores didn't really get or go on internships. Every school is different, of course. So I go on this internship, and they're like, "Well, actually, we don't have a desk for you. This desk is for the other interns from, I think one was from Columbia College of Art and Design, and the other was from Art Center." And I didn't go to a fancy school or anything, so I was already feeling like, oh man, slow your roll, chill out. This is your thing. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So they seat me at the conference table, basically, in the studio. And that was my spot. That's where I worked. That's where I did everything. And for 6 weeks, I didn't have a desk. Like, I wasn't like the rest of everyone. So anyhow, not that I was complaining. I mean, I wanted to be recognized as, being worthwhile, worthy, whatever. But sometimes you take what you can get, and that was one of those times. And so I decided to just kind of dig in and make sure that whatever I was doing, I would do my best at. So whether it was sketching or it was getting the bagels, which was kind of my responsibility for a bit. We'd have these meetings, and it was my job to kind of get these bagels for everyone, take their order, and get that done. This story will all make sense in the end. But that's what I did. I took that opportunity, didn't complain, just got it done. And at the same time, I knew my internship, or the time for my internship, was coming to a close, so I started applying for other places. And so I applied to Target, and they have a really good internship program if anyone's ever done it. but I applied to Target and then a few other places. And so I come back to the team at Astro. And I'm like, look, hey, I actually have a few offers here. And I think I'm going to go to Target. And they're like, why are you leaving? And I was like, oh, well, you know, this thing was supposed to be for 6 weeks. So I figured, and they're like, no, you can stay. So they were so impressed with me just being willing to dig in. You know, again, sit at the conference table, chill, be willing to learn, be adaptable, that they're like, you can stay as long as you want. And at the end of the internship, I even thought about staying for another few months. That's how much, you know, they liked me. And to this day, I'm still friends with many of the people that I got to know during that time. It was an experience that changed my life, and one that I'll always be grateful for, because it forced me to just kind of be a bit humble and know my place, and just, it was a good reminder to just work hard, and whatever opportunity you have, just make the most of it. And from that, after that internship, I actually went on, let's see, the next year I went to General Motors. That's what I did. I turned down a bunch of internship offers, actually, from different companies. Ended up at General Motors because I wanted something different. I wasn't a traditionally trained car designer, industrial designer, who could draw, but I was like, yeah, let's just, you know, see what this is like. Go from there. So I did that. And then I just realized, you know, cars aren't my thing. I like to draw them, but they're really not like my passion. I love products. I love solving problems. I do love drawing, but I just knew that designing cars full-time, day in, day out was not the thing I wanted to do. So I walked away from that one, and then actually ended up working at Astro Studios after I graduated, and I got that job in 2007. And some of you know what happened in 2008. Kind of similar, actually, to right now, where we had the housing crisis. I wasn't even aware of what was happening, just on a large scale. I mean, I was just, you know, living in my own little world and content with designing, and then it just all hit, you know, the real estate crisis and financial crisis of 2008. So that happened, and I quickly found myself without a job. Man, I'm telling my whole story here, so hopefully this is what you guys are after. But I quickly found myself without a job. I was furloughed, and my business partner at the time and we decided to start our own company. So with the limited experience I had, or not my business partner, but my best friend, who became my business partner, but with the limited experience I had, we then started a company called Studio T-. Did that for a while, and was pretty successful at it. I mean, I was making really good money. It was a lot of work, but we did it. And pretty quickly found myself bumping up on the limitations of experience, and so we decided to part ways. Not, you know, in any negative sense, but just recognizing and realizing, hey, we both need to grow. It was like a healthy breakup, you could say, where we just kind of went our own way. And so I ended up working with a startup that I had previously done work with, connection, got on board there. They got acquired by a company here in Utah, and so then I transitioned to kind of designing and working in a smart home space. Did that for a bit. Ended up doing apps, experiences, traditional industrial design, built trade show booths, just a lot of diverse and good experience. Learned how businesses work and how to kind of navigate that world. So that was pretty fantastic in terms of experience, and learned pretty quickly that I like working for myself. I like doing my own thing. So last year I then moved on from that experience, and I've been doing Sketch-A-Day and consulting since then. So I've done illustration work for people, I've done design work, I've done outdoor spaces, architecture, illustration, product design. So like I said, I don't like to think of myself as one thing per se, but rather, okay, I'm a creative and I can facilitate a bunch of outcomes depending on the requirements or need of the client. But I don't like industrial design as a kind of catch-all expression of what I do, because I do a lot more than that. So that's my story in a nutshell. And I can probably go in more depth, you know, if I did an episode or I was interviewed by someone or something. But here's my version of Hector's sketch. A little sketchier, looser. Like I said, he's got more of a doodle style. Oops. He's got more of a doodle style, as you can see. And here is my version right there. So not perfect, but I'll call it finished. We'll sign it and call it good. All right, on to the next. We've got a submarine sketch from Tom. So Tom's got this submarine. So initially, as I was looking at this, I thought to myself, okay, if it's a submarine, yeah, you'd probably have to have some way, or maybe it's a water-based drone. So it'd have to have some way to like move up and down in the water, but you'd want to be able to propel forward and backwards, right? So I think those propellers should be able to articulate, all right? And we can show that using a few things. So I'm going to go ahead and let me zoom out here so you guys can see a little better. All right. So we'll just start with, I think this one I'll do with just some gray marker to start. Let me check in the chat here, because I probably missed a bunch of stuff. True Nordic is asking, what are 2 of the best tips for starting in design? I don't know. I mean, I don't have like a list of 10 tips per se. And I can't really say, here are the 2 top ones. But I always tell students, be a sponge, meaning take every opportunity you have to learn all the things you need to learn for your process, being the best at what you do. So here is kind of what I'm talking about, maybe changing the nature of these, let's see, the nature of these propulsion things. All right, so maybe these 2 point down or something. Could even have maybe some cutouts here. These 2 in the back, maybe a bit more of a cylinder approach. All right, something like that. This is Sketch-A-Day Live. Thanks for joining. Sunday, May 3rd. We are resketching submissions from fans. In this case, fans on Discord. The rest of y'all were sleeping or something. Let's see. Do I use traditional media for my illustrations? If so, what's my favorite? Pen and ink is kind of my jam. Pen, ink, airbrushes, pastels. Can I show drawings in my first year? I actually have a sketchbook close by here. Not to get too sidetracked, but here's some of my early drawings. This is probably second year in college. Lots of garbage stuff here, but these are a lot of my drawings. So the point is to draw as much as possible, That's when you're gonna see those improvements. And I have many sketchbooks this thick that I used in college that are now full. Alright, so it's just about getting that mileage in. So small thing here, but perspective, right? Further away, closer to us. You want this to be smaller, bigger. Same thing back here. All right, like I said, maybe this thing articulates somehow. Center line. I hope this does Tom's drone at least some justice, but the biggest thing I saw was just conceptually, I was like, oh, I don't know if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and make this tweak. Some sort of underwater drone here. And all these lines I'm putting in are just axes to kind of show and also help describe the direction of what it is I'm doing. So like I kind of said before, I like to have my shapes relate to each other. It's just a design thing I like personally. So even though I'm throwing this kind of organic shape in, you know, if I were to throw a contour line, maybe it looks something like that. As far as a color break or color story goes, I would likely have those be the same color. Alright, and maybe in this housing we have, you know, this is where all our sensors are, so maybe we have some sort of camera on the bottom, maybe some sort of bubble camera on a gimbal of some sort. So I posted, I think it was last Sunday, we did the people episode. And I posted a sketch there, and then I got some comments that, oh, it was a sketch of the mountain bike. Then I got a comment that it was a nice illustration, but not a sketch. So I actually went ahead, I believe it was on the Wednesday show, and we redid that. So if you want to check it out, you can find that on the channel. I did a mountain bike, but this time without a person. Let me know if you're liking the recaps. So after the stream, I'll actually go and edit out each of these segments. It takes time, so I do want to know if it's worth my time. Meaning if you guys actually go back and watch those. Or if you just don't care, that's fine too. Okay. Totally fine. Alright, I know these look weird, but let's see, is that the right way? Yeah, I'm trying to draw these turbines kind of at an angle or something. But this one looks a little bit wonky, so I'll tweak it in post. Just kidding. I'll just use some contrast and stuff to kind of hide that. Not a big deal. I'm going to keep this one kind of gray. Alright, little camera here. Alright, guys. Getting close. I'm trying to remember what the last sketch was. I know I had another one lined up, but we're pushing almost 2 hours, which is kind of my silent, non verbalized limit on how long I'll stream. I try to keep them within that. Start at an hour, and then, you find yourself having so much fun. It's hard to stop sometimes. All right, let's go ahead and throw some bubbles in here. This is underwater, right? Not sure what this drone is looking at underwater. Sorry, Tom. I probably completely butchered this. Like, it's so different from yours. Having fun, nevertheless. All right, so side to side, maybe there's a couple fins off the back or something that it can use to kind of help guide itself side by side, or side to side rather. Or maybe it uses magnets and lasers. We'll never know. Magnets and lasers is like my catch-all joke for how you solve problems as an industrial designer. Someone comes to you and like, there's no way that's possible. You just be like, magnets and lasers, man. That's how we're going to do it. Magnets and lasers. Which designer had a high influence on me? It's a tough question. I'm trying to think of the color to use on this one. I'm thinking about your question, don't worry. I think one of you were saying like white's hard to render, so let's do white. I'll take that up as a challenge. I love the work of Naoto Fukasawa quite a bit, so he influenced me a ton. And then other than that, there's just been people in my career that have kind of influenced me. Why am I using... I'm using neutral gray. I don't know why, but yeah, he's been influential for sure. That's kind of my go-to answer when people ask me that question. Alright, so with white, you actually use gray and sometimes a little bit of blue to kind of help pull things out. Alright, so I'm just using a very, very light neutral gray. This is a neutral gray 1. Just kind of working that there. Alright, getting those shadow cores and highlights at least suggested. And then we'll still add some contrast. Now, it's in the water, so I need to throw some light blue on top. So, let's dig into my Copic blues. Yeah, I'm using my Copics today because I love you guys. Actually, by using the Copics, I have a lot of options for colors, so it's kind of nice. Very, very light blues I can use, for example. Let's do a quick test. Alright, that looks pretty good. So, right here, for example, on the top, I'm going to use this blue to kind of help. Because it's facing upward, right? And it's in the water, so kind of these rim light areas, or any areas like this, where I'd be getting some reflection, highlight stuff happening normally. I'm going to use that blue to just kind of help out, because with white it's going to be picking up all that stuff in the environment. I missed a little spot here on this arm. You can kind of see this design thing I've got going on. Alright, that little grip, so kind of missed it here, so I'll just sketch that in real quick. Super loose. And just to show you guys, I do tight drawings quite a bit. Sometimes I just get in the mood and I want to do that. So here's one I'm working on right now. just this robot. I'll post this up on Instagram later, but it just takes so long. I don't like to sit and just do the same drawing forever, but I know some of you have asked in the past if I could do like a project start to finish. Certainly something I can do, for sure, but these are just fun, you know. I can crank out 4 or 5 sketches sometimes in a session here, so, and I love getting the ideas and suggestions from you guys, so thank you as always. Don't forget the gloss black panel at front. Yep, for sure. I'm gonna put that in, but you have to work light till you get it right. At least that's the way I think about it. So I will for sure get that. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show today. Sorry if I didn't get to your sketch specifically, but I think we covered quite a bit of ground here and there. Alright, so just in these blue areas now, I'm going to come in at the core and just hit in a smaller, more concentrated fashion some of these spots, okay? Just is going to help with that white appearance. Blend out. And all of these things I'm doing, you can translate to a digital experience. So in other words, if you are using something like Procreate or Photoshop, these principles all apply. I just personally like the challenge of using real tools that don't forgive or forget. I feel like it makes it that much harder. There's something good about challenging yourself. You know, with design, constraint is the genesis of those solutions, right? That's part of having what's called a design problem. You have a constraint. It has to meet a certain cost, or it has to be a certain way. Whatever the case may be, you have some constraint, and those constraints are really where your creativity comes out and you shine. If you realize, oh man, we only have $10 to make this product, then you have to make some critical decisions about how you approach that product in terms of the materials, all that good stuff. So as Tom pointed out, we've got this gloss area here for the camera lens, and I want that to be white. So I'm just using a 70% gray here and kind of outlining where this highlight's going to be. And then I can also use the gray to, you know, potentially block out the back here. Now you do want to put your lightest lights next to your darkest darks where possible. Maybe I'll angle this just ever so slightly, like so. Alright, and now I can take a darker gray, finish out some of this. Like I said, I would fudge a little bit of these turbines on the inside where they're dark. This is Sketch A Day Live. Thanks for hanging. We are wrapping up with our final sketch here, submitted by Tom. We'll do a resketch session another time, so don't worry if you didn't get your sketch in as a part of the show. 3 times a week is when we do this. Wednesdays, Sundays, and Fridays. Fridays, the 9 a.m. show, 9 a.m. Pacific. That's how we started out. Recently expanded to a few other shows, or times rather. So yeah, Fridays, Wednesdays, and Sundays. That's when we do it. Subscribe, turn on alerts, and you won't miss the show. If you like what you see, share, tell a friend, all that good stuff. If you don't like it, too bad, because I'm not stopping. Thank you, Charlie. Happy to share my time. I'm just having fun, so For me, it's all good. Thought it'd be cool to maybe have some design detail that maybe felt a little bit like gills on the side here. I don't know. Kind of cool. Alright, so once I add the final line weight here on the outside, that should help everything gain a bit more clarity and flow. I guess my hat hasn't been on screen. There it is. So I got this hat. It's the best 30 bucks I've spent this year. You can tell it to say whatever you want. It's Sketch-A-Day Live. I'm excited to take it out into public though. And as I'm trying to continue social distancing till all of this nightmare is over, I can say stay away from me, for example. So I need to go out and see how people react to and receive my hat, but it's fun. Alright, let's get the outline here. Now, Charlie said this front portion is black, so I'm just gonna go in and pump up the contrast with this Pit brush pen. Again, I really like it. So, and they do make them in white as well, which is really handy. It's just a less opaque ink, the white, as compared to the black. Even the black's not really super opaque, but Muscular Mama says even her 3-year-old likes to watch. That's really cool. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying it. Alright, let's just get this outline in. And then maybe I'll do something with the background. I actually missed what I was going to do with the white here, or the bubbles rather. I was going to leave that kind of unfinished. I think I can still make it work. I have an idea. It's going to take a lot of ink, but at least I have refills. I don't know though, maybe I don't want to use all the ink on this one. Maybe I don't. So Sketch-A-Day Live, thanks for joining. It's been fun. The request here was to resketch this underwater drone. I'm doing it in white. The goal here being to use my grays for my shadow cores. Wherever there's a reflection of some sort, we need that coloration. I can use that blue just to help things out. You know, maybe there's a couple little screw joint points or whatever needs to be fastened. I can put that on. I think I did mention maybe using a gray for this portion, so I'm gonna take like a neutral gray 3, maybe 4, and just shade that in. I think. Let me think about it. Don't want to mess up now. Thank you, Yash. Yeah, I like the hat. It's been a hit at parties so far, so I think it's gonna be a thing. All right, a couple more touches here, and I'm gonna call it good, and then I'm gonna eat and sleep and rest. It's been a busy morning, busy day. I'm always open to suggestions, so if you have an idea, something you want to see on the show, stream, whatever, hit me up, spencer@sketchaday.com, or leave a comment. Hit me up on the YouTubes, or sorry, the Instagram as well. Also a great way to get in touch. So instead of gray, I'm just going to do some texture stipples here in this area with my, let's see, neutral 7. I'm going to switch to a different neutral gray once I get to this more or less dark area. Can't even think. Less dark is the same as lighter, right? This less dark area, you could just say lighter, dude. All right, so that is neutral 7. So now I'm going to take this 3, kind of do the same thing, and just stipple around. You know, maybe it's just some cool texture on this material. Yeah, Tom, I'd be open to doing like a live that's not drawing and just you guys asking me questions about career stuff, but I don't know how wide that audience would be or if you guys would like it, so let me know if that's something you guys are really interested in. I could probably get people on to talk about topics, like I said, friends, contacts, whatever. I'm kind of known as the sketch guy, but I also design. Do CAD, strategy, all sorts of stuff. So I can speak to a lot of things if that's something y'all are interested in. All right, so there's our white underwater drone. All right, cool. I'm trying to think when I could add that. Maybe a Monday show, but that would be tomorrow. If there were only 8 days in a week, you know, that would help a ton, but there's not really like a good gap. Plus, I don't want to overwhelm everyone too. Like, I produce a lot of content, so I'm also trying to be sensitive to the fact that you can't watch everything I do. So, all things to consider. Just have to figure out how to do it. I guess a podcast you could listen on the way to work and you wouldn't have to necessarily watch. So that could be good. Just as I think out loud about it, but yeah, we'll see. I'm open. All right, so I changed this a ton, but there was a request for something white, so that's why I thought I would do this. So just to remind you, this is Tom's initial sketch. I made quite some changes here, but the thought was, you know, the propulsion system I wasn't quite settled on. I guess I'm missing an antenna as a part of this, so let's do that. You know, maybe there's just some sort of fin antenna. It's a part of this guy. And throw that in. I was kind of missing this antenna as a part of the sketch, so throw that in. And there's our underwater drone. All right, just to recap, we only got through 3 things today. My apologies on the first sketch. So there's our drone. We also have, let me get these markers out of the way. We also have this ellipse pepper grinder. And this wasn't our final sketch, but kind of the work leading up to that sketch that was submitted. And here's the final version right there. You guys wanted a car done in black, so there we go. As always, there's things I would change or modify about this, but there's kind of my quick, well, not really quick, it took about an hour, sketch of the vehicle using black markers. There's the pepper grinder in chrome for Hectorius, and we have a quick drone, underwater drone, that I can't resist tweaking and doing things to, but you guys wanted it in white, so there you go. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. Hopefully you had fun. We'll be back Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. I'm gonna do a show a little bit earlier. I've got to get some time with my kids on Wednesday, so 4 p.m. Pacific. The link should be there on my channel. If you need a reminder, be sure to hit subscribe and turn on alerts. And then we'll be back on Friday as well. We've got some awesome content this week. I'm going to be doing some stuff on reflections, shadows, reviewing my new toy, which is in this box. My new Wacom tablet. I'll be taking a look at as well, and possibly doing some 3D stuff. So hopefully you're ready for that. It's going to be a busy week, and I'm hoping I can get to all of it too. So if you have any other suggestions for the live shows, let me know. After this, you can hit up the Google Drive where I will be uploading the photos of these finished sketches. You can take a look, download them for reference if you want. And let's see what else. Check out the store, all that good stuff. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time right here on Sketch-A-Day. Peace out, guys.